Hello and welcome. I'm Olga Hannanen, and this is Academia Experience. I'm a researcher at the University of Eastern Finland, and I always wanted to popularize science. Knowledge needs to be shared, not buried inside academia. So in Academia Experience, we discuss topical academic phenomena in everyday language to make them more approachable and understandable for everyone. Welcome aboard. Today at Academia Experience, we talk about multi-local living. What is multi-local living? Why is it trending now? Can we categorize digital nomadism as a multi-local living? To answer these questions, I invited Kati Pitkänen, a senior researcher from the Finnish Environment Institute. So Kati, please tell us what is understood under multi-local living?
Multi-local living is kind of a social practice related to mobility and living or housing. It's a practice where people share their lives in between of multiple locations and alternate between these locations in their lives.
So are these locations located within the same city or municipality, or do these locations located around the country, for example?
It varies a lot. So the different there is a continuum of different spatial and temporal scales and rhythms related to multilocality. It can be about the shifting the place or alternating between places within a very small spatial scale, like between your home and place of working, for example. But it can be about shifting between places that are located further away from each other, like in different municipalities, in different regions, or even different countries.
So what are other examples of multilocality except between home and work mobility?
Multilocality or multilocal living can be related to different motives. In my research, I've found actually 4 types of motives for multilocality. It can be related to work, so that your place of work and place of living are remote and you have to sort of shift the place in between of them. But also studying can be related to similar patterns of multilocality. Then multilocality can be related to leisure. For example, second home living is a good example, that people have this second home somewhere else than they have their permanent homes, and they shift or alternate between living at their primary home and second home. Then multilocality can also be related to various social reasons. For example, you can live in a different dwelling from your partner, so that you sometimes stay at your partner's flat and sometimes you're in your own flat. It can be related to, for example, divorce situations, after which children often end up alternating between their parents' homes. It can be related to the care of elderly, for example. For example, in Finland at the moment, the aging of the population in rural areas had led to the situation that the elderly people's closest relatives live further and further away, and they sometimes have to go and stay with their elderly parents, for example, and that's why they end up living in a multilocal life. And in Finland there are also other reasons, for example, ownership-related reasons. For example, the owners of forest properties often live in urban areas, quite far away from the forest property that they own, and that's why they sometimes have to
go and visit their property there. You mentioned a very interesting point about multi-local living is related to leisure and second homes in particular. And as a second home researcher, I find it interesting because in Finland, that has a long history of second home culture, second homes have hardly been regarded as multi-local living. And the attempts to categorize second home mobility patterns include multiple dwelling, multi-house home, pluri-residence, multi-centered home, and some others. So why the concept of multi-local living is trending now specifically?
I think this is a very good question, and I think you're very right making this point that sort of multilocality is trending as a concept in Finland in particular, and I think there are several reasons for this. First of all, the COVID pandemic, it really increased the use of second homes and sort of created this second home boom and lifted also second homes in the popular discourses in a way that hasn't really happened before. So second homes have become like a big issue to be discussed also nationally. And I think partly the concept of second homes has been replaced by the concept of multilocality, because I think multilocality somehow fits better to the purpose that this concept is currently used in, and it's used also not only as a research concept but also as a kind of a development and policy concept. So kind of it's based on this realization that permanent residence is a very poor proxy of modern life, but people are increasingly mobile. They have an increasing amount of different places where they spend their lives and share their lives in between. So that kind of, for example, our population statistics that are based on only one permanent place of residence, they kind of give a bit faulty picture of where people actually spend their time in. And for example, when we talk about rural depopulation and urbanization development in Finland, if we take into consideration multilocality, it gives a bit different picture of what the population trends currently are, so that actually the urbanization isn't so fast as the official statistics might show us.
All right, and Finland, as I already mentioned, has a long history of second home culture. It's a very popular type of recreation. So can you make an estimation what is the share of second home mobility or second home living in multi-local living in Finland?
Well, we've done some research on this and tried to also quantify like how many people live multi-local lives in relation to these different types of multi-locality, and second homes is the most voluminous or most kind of popular type of multi-locality in Finland by far in numbers. Like there are over 500,000 second homes in Finland, and it estimated that 2.4 million Finns annually visit a second home, so it's almost half of the population.
And as you have mentioned, with the pandemic, the patterns of use of second homes have changed. So people also go to work at their second homes, not just for recreation.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, this is correct. The use rates of second homes peaked during the pandemic, so that people actually stayed longer at their second homes, not only during the summer holidays and so on, but they sort of kept on using the second homes also during the winter months. And those people who can engage in remote work also started working from their second homes more and more.
Yeah, speaking of remote work and second homes and just flexible work arrangements that we witness during and also after the pandemic, this reminds me about the booming digital nomad trend. And do you think that digital nomadism can be put under the multi-local living concept, or can we categorize it as one of the examples?
Well, this is a good question. I haven't really done any research on digital nomadism, and I'm not very familiar with the concept, but it kind of seems that it's very much related to multi-locality also. I've tried to sort of categorize or think what are the links between remote working and multi-locality, and these two concepts are also currently used in Finland quite synonymously, so that kind of remote work is categorized as one form of multi-locality, but I think this is not entirely correct, but actually remote work is a thing that can both sort of be the cause for multi-locality, so that for example it can both increase and decrease multi-locality. So remote work can increase multi-locality if it gives people the option to sort of spend their time wherever they want to, and so that they can, for example, more flexibly use their second homes and then also travel somewhere and work from there. But it can also decrease multi-locality because, for example, it gives people the option to work from home, so that they don't have to arrange any housing for work in the places where they work at.
All right. So, speaking of trending multilocality, so is it something that is happening in Finland as a concept or object of research, but also as a trend in general of living, or can we say that this is something that is happening in other countries as well?
Well, I think it's a very global phenomenon, definitely, and also for also this trend related to second homes happened also elsewhere where the use of second homes is popular. So I think it's very much a global issue.
So, Kati, can we say that multi-local living has become a norm rather than an exception? And what are the future perspectives on this?
Well, yes, I do think that people have become increasingly mobile and also multi-local, and it's sort of hard to reverse this trend in the future. But at the same time, we have to remember that multi-locality is not a new thing, but it's something that's been always there, and people have lived multi-local lives for several reasons also before. And what I also always want to emphasize in the context of multi-locality is that it's multi-locality is not only a phenomenon where people can freely choose where they want to spend their time at, but there are also groups of people who are forced to live multi-local life. For example, refugees or children in custody.
I see. Well, thank you, Kati, for coming in today and sharing your knowledge about multi-local living. I think everybody learned a lot about that phenomenon. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. Check out academia experience elsewhere.